Well, hello. Welcome to another biking vlog. So we're on this side trail. I found this actually pretty recently. It was closed for a while. They were fixing it or something. And there's a section of it that looks really nice and more brand new. This is the rough part of it. Feels, like I'm going through some sort of country. So here we are going under this bridge with all the trucks. Oh, as I stated before, the DJI, it changes its exposure a lot. So I'm trying to fix that problem. I'm sure it's doing its job very well, but I'm not sure how to regulate that. So I'm still learning how the camera works and everything. I think the quality of the image is quite good. I'm very, very happy with it. And so just going down this kind of rough path. Uh, Actually, it's just occurring to me, this isn't the path that was closed. I'm thinking about another path. But this is just sort of a country-like path. It's not that the paths look similar, because they don't. They're very, very different. But I'm so blessed that there's so many places to go. And again, you have a lower path right next to the river, and then you've got upper paths, which give you a totally different perspective. But the other paths have cars and things, which are kind of dangerous. So I try to stay away from those as much as I can. But then this perspective right next to the river, you could say it gets a little boring sometimes. I think it's exciting. But if you showed the same view all the time, that's why I like to do commentary, because the commentary kind of adds to what's going on. This trail is actually quite technical because you can see it's full of puddles and it's full of mud and loose sand, and sometimes grates are over the trail. So you really have to pay attention and watch what I'm doing because you could very easily, slip in the mud or, knock the bike down. Luckily, my bike is, strong and heavy with big, thick tires. So I always feel quite confident on it. Some of these guys with like these skinny tired road bikes, but I guess that's what they're made for. They're made for the road. They're not made for trails like this. And that's one thing I love about my Tern Node D8 is just this freedom. I can take it on roads. I can take it on almost trails like this. It's not a mountain bike. Mountain bikes are much lighter and more nimble. So it's not really a mountain bike at all, but you can take it on, little rougher trails and it handles it just fine. I think the heaviness of it, keeps me grounded to the ground. Oh, it's a fun trail, not the best quality. I don't think this is a trail they keep up very well. I might have shown this trail before, but like I said, there's like 10 or 12 trails I could take. So some of them are going to double up, but it's still fun. Every time I go, there's a difference. Like I think of the last time I did this trail, it was really hot and no rain. So none of these mud was there, none of the rain, none of the puddles were there. Very different experience. And also, it's so green, all these plants, these green plants everywhere. So it's just green everywhere. I kind of enjoy that. I've been playing around with 30 frames per second rather than 24 frames per second, and it does make a difference. So 30 versus 24. 24 is a lot more cinematic. I really like it in some ways. It adds some kind of drama to things, which I really enjoy. You see what I'm saying? How the exposure keeps changing. It becomes almost too dark and then almost too light. So I'm playing around with that, trying to see how to not get it to switch so strongly. So I need to do a little bit more research. I'm happy with the outcome though, even when it's a little dark. But the problem is when I was writing, it was bright sunshine. There wasn't this change much at all. It was pretty steady. So maybe static values, that's one way I can do it. So here I'm just going to take a rest, as I like to do. A little writing, a little bit of rest. Always quite important. So how about some music for a few minutes? Just kind of taking a break here. Now let's start up again. Again, as I always say, just because I take a break doesn't mean you have to. I was going to play some music, but maybe a little later. I love these white, fluffy clouds. I'm just a cloud freak. Just amazed at how many different kinds of clouds there are. The patterns they make. Sometimes they seem like shapes and people. I remember as a kid, we used to lie on our backs, look at the clouds, and imagine we see things in the shapes of the clouds. We say, look, 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 that's a cow. No, look, that's the map of America or whatever we saw. Remember those long days of summer? So we're just ending up summer. So it's different as an adult. We can't just spend all day outside. But I remember as a kid, we used to get, 2.5 months vacation. And it was awesome. We go out and play baseball and hang out with the local kids and different world. Nobody had cell phones. Uh, nobody, had their nose stuck in a cell phone. Some people had their nose stuck in a book, but that was kind of healthy. But most of us, we just hung out. We talked and played baseball, sometimes fought a little bit. But I remember the neighborhood I was kind of a circular neighborhood. It had, three streets done in kind of like a circle. And so very well defined who was part of our neighborhood. So that was kind of cool. I remember those long days of summer. And luckily, the place we normally met was the field right next to my house. So literally next door. So it was my neighbor's front yard, just big enough to play on. Right across the street, there was a field where they used to grow asparagus. Very strange why they'd grow asparagus. And we used to drive our mini bikes there. So these little tiny motorcycles. And I remember mine didn't have a cover on the flywheel. So you had to be very careful. A couple of times I touched the flywheel a little bit and it ripped my pants. Just funny, crazy times I remember. Why didn't I just get a new cover for that? What kids think about. Anyway, we had a good time. All right, let's listen to some music for a few minutes. right, I hope you enjoyed that music for a while. Like I said, I'm trying this new format where I talk a little bit, music a little bit, a little bit of everything. I hope you like that. I'm trying to find my audience right now. Just playing around with this channel. I know I love biking. I know I love recording biking. Um, but I'm just not sure how to build an audience. Not that great at it. So I'm kind of stuck between doing things just because I enjoy them, and hey, if somebody else enjoys them, fine, you're welcome. But also I have this thought that, I want to do things that other people like. So I love just getting the camera set up and just pressing record, talking a little bit about what's going on in biking world and all that. Um, I know that I'm probably going to start to do some reviews because I love my Tern Node D8 bike. I'd really like to do a review about it. I just haven't done it yet. And also, I have the DJI Action 4. Now I know the DJI Action 5 just came out. Difficult. They want you to buy a new camera, it seems, every year. No, I don't want to do that. The DJI Action 5 does have some definite improvements. But the DJI 4 had some clear improvements over the DJI Action 3. Oh, it's never ending. So, well, one day I would like to do a review. And I know I've said this once or twice, but you just never seem to get around to it. So, I like this path. This is kind of a, path right next to the river. And these paths are usually next to apartment complexes. And they're just so pretty. They keep them up so well. And I'm impressed by that. Somebody took care of this path. The path itself probably needs to be repaved, eventually. I know that's a huge job. And so now, you know, the, so this is just a viewpoint that I'm coming to right now. And so I love these kind of viewpoints. And so here we are on I think you heard that. We changed the view and now we're into a different video. What happens is I stopped at that viewpoint and I had my normal snack time. So, one of the great joys is just to sit somewhere. I didn't get here by car. I didn't pollute anything. And I just sat down, sometimes in nature, sometimes with just a beautiful viewpoint like that. That's one of my favorites. And my snacks is actually normally ones I make myself. Like I have a good recipe for banana bread, and I love banana bread. It's healthy. When I make it myself, there's no bad ingredients. It's just healthy stuff. There's no chemicals in it. I don't put anything to make it look pretty. I don't put anything to make it last a long time. I usually make banana bread in the bread maker. And what I found with the bread maker, though, is my bread maker is fantastic. I enjoy it a lot, but it mixes okay. A lot of times when it mixes heavy things like banana bread mix, it doesn't mix in all the flour correctly. So it's eatable and it's fine. But I found when I just do everything in a bowl and mix it myself, and I just use the bread maker as a little tiny oven, portable oven. It works fantastically. For one thing, it's very hard to burn it. I don't know what it is about a bread maker, but it maybe the shape or however it works. It's very hard to burn it. So what I like to do is mix everything in the bowl, mix it very, very well to get rid of all the flour, and then I cook it in there. But very important, you have to remember to get rid of the paddle because if you forget to get rid of the paddle, the paddle rips out at the bottom and creates this huge hole at the bottom. Not a huge deal, but you know, kind of ruins the cake-like experience. And then once you make this banana bread, you can heat it up in the microwave or the oven or the toaster. And then I eat it on the trail. And it's just so tasty and nice. What I like to do is do my bike rides in the morning and bring coffee. So to have my banana bread, maybe even with another banana or fruit with me, or sometimes a few nuts, and just sit on a beautiful spot like what we saw. Enjoy banana bread. So, you know, a big thing here in Korea is to go to these convenience stores like 7-Eleven. And so I just don't find any food there. I don't like the food. So that's a problem for me. Like, you know, I love Korea, but sometimes a lot of the food is just not my type. Like they've got these little, diamond, not diamond shaped, they're triangular shaped, covered in seaweed, these little seaweed wrap things. And I know a lot of people really appreciate and like those. Some reason it's not my taste. I don't like any of them. Some of them are made of tuna. Some of them are made of, meat, and they all seem to have rice in it. Some of them have kimchi in it. So, I just like making my own. you know. I'm sorry that I'm not supporting the Korean economy. Feel a little bad about that, but I just like to make it on my own. So these rest stops are awesome. So here we are underneath some huge bridge. This bridge is just massive. I know it's not going to happen, but little tiny part of me saying, oh, I hope it doesn't collapse on my head, which is stupid, I know. Of course, it's not going to collapse. It's been there for 50 years. But you think about these things when biking. Biking, you are kind of vulnerable. You're vulnerable to the weather. You're not in a car. So if it starts to pour rain or gets really windy, you're vulnerable to hills. Most of the biking I do is pretty flat, little smaller hills, but pretty flat. But you're vulnerable to cars. You're vulnerable to other bikes. I think I told that story where it just happened to be a young woman, but totally oblivious on her bike, and she's on like a electric. If I remember correctly, it was like a scooter or something. It was pretty big, and she just mindlessly went right in front of me, completely mindlessly. And again, it's not because she's a woman. It's just, you know, her scooter made noise and it's a motor and she was zoning out. Never even saw me. So luckily, I'm very nimble, very quick on the bike. So I could get away. So, oh, here we are slowly winding down this ride. And again, I really appreciate it. I know not a lot of people are watching yet, and I'm happy with that. But please put some things in the comments. Anything you'd like to see, anything you don't want to see. If I'm doing a bad job, don't feel bad telling me that clearly. I'm doing the best job I can. But, if you don't like the content, if it's, the quality of the footage isn't really what you want, or whatever it is, don't worry about telling me that. You know, I love criticism because it makes me get better. I just enjoy making these. So hopefully I can continue to make them. This picture seems a little dark, like I said. So I don't know, should I change this in post or not? But maybe on a different screen, it'll look better.